the families are still in the process of being contacted. I want them to know that I speak for the American people in expressing our deepest condolences.
I don't want to forget my brother, but I don't want anybody to forget the hero and what he did.
He loved being a dad, and he loved being a husband, and he was good at it.
His role was very critical to the lifeblood of the carrying out of the mission of the Navy here in Chattanooga.
Just his smile lit up the room. And I know that's so cliche to say, but if I could just see his smile one more time, it would just bring so much joy.
Marine Gunnery Sergeant Thomas Sullivan was a decorated combat veteran, twice awarded the Purple Heart. He had survived war zones, but it was here at home in what was meant to be a quiet, final post that he gave his life while protecting others.
His brother Joe is just 18 months younger, and they had quite a strong bond. Greg Glover tells us more.
I think I need a minute.
10 years later, and Joe Sullivan still gets emotional, remembering the day he lost his brother.
We had a very strong bond. It felt like what I imagine a twins relationship is, but without actually being, sharing the womb together, at the same time. Tommy was my older brother. He acted as like a protector to me.
From Catholic school and Boy Scouts to a long career in uniform, Joe says Thomas lived to serve.
As soon as he became a Marine, it's like he found himself. He discovered where he was supposed to be his whole life. And that's what he became. He became the quintessential Marine,
He served 18 years, survived combat, earned 2 Purple Hearts, and was stationed in Chattanooga as his final post.
So they sent him to a reserve center in the middle of Chattanooga, Tennessee, to kind of retire him on duty. They didn't want to kick him out, like medically discharge him, but they wanted him to relax.
But that sense of peace wouldn't last. What was supposed to be a quiet military base turned into the scene of a terrorist attack.
To honor his memory, it's important that people know what he did. He was at the fence. He sent his soldiers over the fence to safety and to clear the park next door. And there was 2 missing guys, and him and David Wyatt went back for the missing guys.
Joe says his brother died the way that he lived, protecting others.
It's just a level of selflessness and heroism that, even 10 years later, I don't want to forget my brother, but I don't want anybody to forget the hero and what he did.
The family has kept his memory alive through road races, scholarships, and school dedications.
It's one of the most important things I do. I have to keep his memory alive. It's how I mourn, it's just someone does something so extraordinary. I think that forgetting them would be catastrophic. It'd be a crime.
In a world where tragedy strikes too often, Joe wants us to remember his brother's legacy, a Marine who made the ultimate sacrifice not on a distant battlefield, but in the city he called home.
All of the fallen 5 families have since moved away from the Chattanooga area. Kathy Wells wanted to make sure her son, Lance Corporal Squire Skip Wells, was represented in this program. She says Skip was a big presence in his hometown of Marietta, Georgia, and he made a lasting impact on the community. Skip had been a member of Sprayberry's marching and symphonic bands, where he found a love of music and followed his mother's footsteps at playing clarinet. Skip was a member of the JROTC, where he deepened his love of country. He was always a history buff, and he had great respect for our armed forces. Skip always knew a career in the military would be where he would find his stride. Skip Wells is remembered as a kind-hearted man with a deep love for his community and his country.
Sergeant Carson Homequist died when his wife was 10 weeks pregnant with their second child, a daughter. Jasmine tells us both children carry his smile and his spirit. Carson Homequist grew up in Wisconsin, a mechanic at heart, drawn to the Marine Corps by a sense of purpose and the desire to see more of the world.
He loved to work on cars and trucks and tinker with all the things. So him being a mechanic in the Marine Corps just served him perfectly.
Homequist and his wife Jasmine grew up in neighboring towns in Wisconsin. Their paths crossed through mutual friends and a shared love for hunting and fishing.
We grew up in towns kind of close by each other. I think they were like 20 minutes driving time. He was big into hunting, fishing, all those things, and that's kind of what drew us together, I guess.
Despite deployments to places like Japan and Afghanistan, his heart always stayed with his family.
My favorite video of them is Carson riding around our kitchen table on his trike, on my son's trike, and then my son had a helmet on with following behind him on a scooter. So it was just them constantly going round and round and round.
Homequist deployed for more than 240 days while his son was a toddler. When he died, Jasmine was 10 weeks pregnant with their daughter, but she's kept his memory alive through scrapbooks, stories, and saying his name every day.
We just speak like he's still here and that he'd be proud, and especially with my son, big into football, I wish so much that he could see him play because he's just doing so well.
Even as time moves forward, pieces of Carson live on, especially in his son Wyatt.
Oh my gosh, my son is a spitting image. He, identical. Even to, I remember watching Carson play football, and he would always do this thing with his foot. Like his foot just had to be a certain way. And my son is really big into football, and it's the same thing.
Jasmine says he was the calm to her storm, always supportive, even from afar.
He was pretty much the yin to my yang. I would always get wound up and worked up, and he was the most like cool little cucumber, wouldn't get too worked up about too much.
Though Homequist is no longer here, his love, calm spirit, and devotion to family continue to guide them.
What I do want him to remember is just the heartfelt person that he was, and just the person that, just his smile lit up the room. And I know that's so cliche to say, but if I could just see his smile one more time, it would just bring so much joy.
For Lori Wyatt, a simple question at a local restaurant led to a lifelong love with Staff Sergeant David Wyatt. As Michelle Herron tells us, Lori hopes that people remember David as a great father, husband, and friend.
We were both working at the Perkins, and so he asked me out a few times, and I finally said yes, and that's it.
From that first date, a love story began. Lori and her husband David Wyatt built a life centered on family, traditions, and the simple joys that made their house a home.
David loved the holidays, so Christmas time he was always up before the kids, and he'd wake them up out of bed, which is funny because kids usually wake you up, right? And they would cover him up with like bows from the presents they'd open. Oh, and he was just in bliss.
David's home life was his priority when he wasn't at work.
He wasn't there all the time because of the Marine Corps, so when he was there, he made every moment intentional. He would, take care of the house, he cooked, he took the kids to do things and made sure they were in sports, and he even did Becca's soccer. He was a coach for that one year. I mean, he loved being a dad, and he loved being a husband.
For Lori, watching their children is like seeing glimpses of their father.
His mannerisms are just like his father. It's funny, they'll stand there like with their hands in their pocket and like kind of rock, and I'm like, your dad did that.
The family marks his birthday every year with a special tribute.
On his birthday, we always send out messages on balloons and release them to him. So it's something we do every year, and then the kids will pick out. We usually just eat David's favorite meal, which is burgers and red velvet cake.
Lori says her husband's loss wasn't hers alone. It was shared by an entire city.
But I understood soon after that day that it was not just my loss, it was Chattanooga's loss, because that was an impact that happened on their city.
And in the aftermath, she remembers mostly the love and support from strangers.
I appreciate everybody who grieved with me, and it was just, I don't know, it was a lot. It was a lot.
Logistics Specialist Second Class Randall Smith left a lasting mark on all who knew him, especially Captain Mickey McCamish. He remembers the uniform Randall wore and, as he tells our Paul Shaheen, the kindness and character behind it.
Retired Navy Captain Mickey McCamish can tell you exactly where he was the moment shots were fired into the Navy Operational Support Center.
I was coming across en route to Chattanooga National Cemetery, en route coming across the C.B. Robinson Bridge. I heard the automatic weapons fire of the terrorists. I thought to myself innocently, who in the world has missed July the 4th? It's July the 16th.
He didn't know at the time that the men he called friends were inside.
I worked with all of them, all 5 of them, different roles for different ones of them. The Marines primarily, dealing with the Chattanooga Armed Forces Day Parade.
McCamish came to know Petty Officer Randall Smith doing volunteer fundraiser work selling beer at Riverbend.
And it would go toward the annual Navy birthday ball.
Smith served as a logistics specialist in the Navy, making sure operations and supplies ran smoothly.
He was an outstanding logistics specialist, so his role was very critical to the lifeblood of the carrying out of the mission of the Navy here in Chattanooga.
Smith's other priority was his family, a devotion to his wife and 3 daughters.
Always loved his girls.
He remembers Smith as happy, always smiling, with a great sense of humor.
He graduated from Navy boot camp on the 14th of January. He was also married on the 14th of January. And I remember he would kid Angie sometimes about why the day was special. And it was special in Navy terms. It was the day he graduated from boot camp and not the day that he was married.
McCamish says their relationship went beyond the workplace. Smith was a friend and exactly the
type of sailors you won't impart as a shipmate.
A former U.S. attorney said the FBI took over the July 16th investigation because the attack happened on federal property. The case had been sealed until now.
There were things we couldn't tell. There were ongoing investigation items that we couldn't tell, some we shouldn't tell, didn't tell.
The shooter's ties to ISIS, his stay with relatives in the Middle East, and what the FBI uncovered about the planned attacks. It's all coming up as we look back on the day that forever changed Chattanooga.